Okay, they say the third time's the charm. This is the third time at it, this Saturday morning. The title of this video is Where Would We Be? And we're going to do this quickly, as much as quickly can be. Where would we be as a nation today if there was no Progressive Empowerment Party? Where would the national conversation be this morning if there was no Progressive Empowerment Party? What would be the issues being discussed if there were no Progressive Empowerment Party? When we came on the scene, January 18th, 2017, there was roti wars, and who's sleeping with who, and who's a fairy, and who interfering with what. That was the entirety of the national conversation between the PNM and the UNC. The Progressive Empowerment Party entered the national conversation with a bang, January 18th, 2017, and started a national conversation about solutions to the problems that exist, the never-ending solutions that seem to have been plaguing this country for 56 years, where people have been saying, well, boy, it can't fix, we like it so, we jamming still, because that's all they were left. They're given a failed education system that leaves 17,000 of our people barely functional, at least 7,000 a year, totally failed with no support. But that's another conversation. Today, scrolling social media, Liz Williams is sharing cruise ships in St. Martin from a source. 6 cruise ships on the ground. Yesterday, liar-in-chief, Minister of Propaganda and Deceit, Stuart Young, speaking about another PEP policy, marinas in Tobago. All of a sudden, the government is hell-bent on trying to rescue themselves from their own failure by stealing PEP policies. No problem. Go through hard. We want to see how it's being done. We want to see who gets to own it, who gets to operate it, and how exactly it's done. Because none of the bullshit that the PNM is going to do, that they're trying to do, stealing PEP policies, regardless of what they do with it, we are coming along to do it to the level that you want to expect from a party that in 2 years, today at noon, auspicious day, we're doing a soft launch of our second national office in Barataria, 10th Street at noon today. And the entire country is invited. The entire country, we're doing it as a soft launch, no bells and whistles, no interviews, no dramas. We go in there, the media is invited, same meeting, same Saturday meet and greet. The PEP is built on the public, not on the who's who. It's built on the public so that the public is invited. The media has been told to come. But you can't trust the media, because where would we be yesterday as a nation when the Express, Anna Ramdas, published a story that the barriers in Bayshore were taken down, and I was able to go and do a live video and put the copy of the Express that I was reading on the barrier. Anna Ramdas responded to people querying why would that be the case by blaming the chairman of the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, Suzanne Hong, who said that the barriers were taken down. But Anna Ramdas is a journalist, or is supposed to be one. And the first tenet of journalism is trust, but verify. You cannot take Suzanne Hong, a public official, you cannot take her word for it. She has an agenda. She has a vested interest. She is a person who 2 weeks ago said no permission was given. Now, after she's had a couple meetings with her 1% friends, she's editing her position to prepare, I guess, for court. That these people know that they have to answer for the illegal act. So the Diego Martin Regional Corporation is going to take some of the hit if they want to keep getting PNM finance dollars at election time. But the point is, Anna Ramdas, and this is why, and you all are giving ammunition to the people who refer to you all as copy and paste media. You cannot take a release. You cannot take a release, Anna Ramdas, to the editor of the Express. You cannot take a release from a public official and copy and paste that. You have to verify it. You have to make sure that what you are printing in your paper is actual factual fact. You have that responsibility, because the first thing that the media sells is trust. The media sells that people could believe in what the media is saying. And if what the media is saying is a lie, then what is the point and the purpose of the media anymore? What would be the point? Now, this week here, Express and Newsday announced raising their prices by 25%, going up from $3 to $4. And I'll tell you why. 2 generations now have no use for printed newspaper, so they don't buy it. 2 generations now have moved completely to social media. Even Fazir Muhammad, who, if you all would remember my interviews with Fazir years ago, when I was telling Fazir that social media is going to change the way media is done and that he will be on the bandwagon, he told me no. My last interview with Fazir, he had a computer screen on his desk. Social media is the future, but we're not even having that argument this morning. The Express and the Newsday and the Guardian have to follow suit quickly. When you lose a readership of about 60,000 a day and it's down under 10,000, hear me, the distributors, they've fired the distributors. It is now one man distributing the whole of Trinidad and Tobago because it's about 5,000 newspapers selling. So they have no choice now but to try and to hold on. They're holding on with claws now. So the people who buying those last 5,000 newspapers, they're going to have to be charged extra. A newspaper is now a premium. So for the last hurrah to the editors of the newspapers, please, you all want to fight social media. Why? Because you say that social media gives the news raw and uncut and no way to verify if what is being shared is a fact. But the difference between social media and a newspaper is that social media, every post could be continuously edited and updated as new information comes to there. But when you print a newspaper and you say something as a fact that you did not verify, what you've done is you've used your pulpit to lead the congregation astray. And the Express needs to come clean with the public. But where would we be as a nation? Would we know today if there was no Progressive Empowerment Party? Because yesterday something happened in the parliament and the opposition is mute. The opposition is silent. And I'm telling Trinidad and Tobago, do not for 1 minute believe that word opposition has any real value now. The people behind what is going on, the rape and plunder of this nation, they are not just bribing the PNM. They are bribing the UNC too. The entire structure, the power structure of Trinidad and Tobago is allowing people behind this government to run roughshod over Tobago. Shut it down. Shut down Tobago. Put all of the people in Tobago out of business. Pick up a large portion of the people's heritage and hand it to a company called Sandals. Take $2.7 billion to start of the people's money to invest in a Sandals project. Why? Why would we do that? Haven't we learned from the Magdalena Grant that has been sucking hundreds of millions of dollars out of this country's treasury? Each time they change the name and write off the debt, they're writing off debt that was money for people of the country. At some point, some government is going to come into office and say Magdalena Grant is closed for business because it would be cheaper to shut it down than to try to operate it for free. So why are we going to go down this same fool's path again? Haven't we learned that we, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we do not have any business being in business, especially the hotel business? Don't we understand that? Why would we take $2.7 billion and give it to Butch Stewart? Isn't that this deal that's happening in Sandals is a way to channel money to Lawrence Dupre, who has made an offer back for Clico that the people bailed out at a fire sale price? Is that what's going on with this whole Sandals venture? Is the name Sandals and the hotel and all the petitions and everything just a distraction from taking money out of the treasury to give to Lawrence Dupre and those people who are coming to try and buy back Clico that owes the people of this country $50 billion now? Are we getting $50 billion? No. We're taking public funds to hand to people to come back and buy back at a fire sale what you put $50 billion in. This is insanity. This is beyond madness. yesterday in the Parliament, and I want to come to this, the Miscellaneous Vesting Act bill. You are not hearing about it. The media is not covering it. The opposition is saying nothing about it. The government is using Parliament to put a stamp of decency on robbery. On robbery. The government is using the Parliament to put a stamp of decency on robbery, and the media that has a responsibility to the people are lying. They're keeping the story away from you. And the opposition, drunk and silent. The opposition have nothing to say. Did the opposition get their cut in front? Is that what is going on? Without the Progressive Empowerment Party, would we have known about Maxi Coffee? Because the opposition didn't ask. And when I was pressing them and pressing the government, you have to answer for Maxi Coffee, the opposition was silent. And when they sent Stuart Young to lie and we exposed Stuart Young's lie, the opposition was silent. And they sent Camille Robinson Regis to lie. And she came on national media and lied, and we exposed her lies. The media was silent. And then Fitzgerald Hines put out an actual fake report from Maxi Coffee that we were able to expose. Not only was it a fake, that it was Fitzgerald Hines that did it, the opposition was silent. It is only after all of that, when we dragged the Prime Minister into the bright glare of the public to account and admit that he had taken $3 million of public funds that he is not authorized to take and spend on his family member, Maxi Coffee, for his medical bills that Maxi is not entitled to receive. That is a conspiracy to steal. That is corruption. That is fraudulent conversion. That is the job of the police and the DPP. Where are they? Stick up in there. Come to Labre. Come to the Pitch Lake. Because if the Progressive Empowerment Party, from day one, we've been asking, what is happening to the accounting of the funds from our Pitch Lake? So far and to date, they've not been able to say. They've not been able to answer. The opposition, silent. The opposition has accounts in China too. You are being lulled into a false sense of security, into believing that the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago is somehow self-correcting. It's not. It's a combination of the PNM and the UNC hierarchy working together to plunder this country. It's a joke, it's a farce, it's a lie. Kamala was told, sit silent. We will handle this shift and you will handle the next shift and we will share. And that's what they're doing. And I said to Trinidad and Tobago 10 years ago, the worst thing that could happen to this country is if those two parties, the actual parties, come together and gang up on Trinidad and Tobago. Because the people are still voting race. So the people still voting for the right wing of the bird or the left wing of the bird, not realizing that it's the same bird killing them. And they're not seeing it. So Pitch Lake issue become a national issue to the point where the Chinese people who have been benefiting from our Pitch Lake since Manning had to come out themselves and invite Rowley and crew to China to talk about some new deal they're doing that's supposed to be starting now but going on since 2 decades. It's like the Wiley appointment. All of a sudden Kamala know to ask in the Parliament. All of a sudden, Kamala know to ask in the Parliament about Wiley appointment that we bust here 3 weeks ago. That we asked 3 weeks ago, how does a man who is not qualified for a job get hired for a job in August for a company that doesn't exist until October? Worse. We want to know, and we've asked, so we don't want to be distracted by PNM UNC bullshit. When you are hiring for somebody for a position that is going to be paid $240,000 treasury dollars, you have to be able to account to the people of the nation. How many people were interviewed? Where did you send out the notice to select candidates? How many people were interviewed? How many resumes did you receive? How long did that process take? That Robin Montano took the issue too and he ran with it. You see, Robin Montano, Devat Maharaj, Kamala Prasad, all of them have, even Keith Rowley, Stuart Young, they have one job. Stay focused on what the Progressive Empowerment Party is doing. Stay focused on what the Progressive Empowerment Party is saying so you can answer the nation, because this is ground zero. This here is ground zero. And we had to ask a question that Robin Montano jumped in to ask too. It's like Devon Maraj jumped in the Maxi Coffee issue and wrote the Integrity Commission 5 full months after us. It is us who told the nation about the Superfast Galatia while the Superfast Galatia still had the contract. The shipping company called me. What do you know? What are you saying? I said they are coming to bust the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago to break the contract with you. That is why the people behind the Superfast Galatia were ready. That is why on the last sailing, they just left this country, because they knew they were given a heads up. Like the people who sell Shark and Bake on Maracas Beach. Richard's Bacon Shark and Mona's and Natalie's could tell you, 20 years ago, we told them what was going to be done. That Maracas Beach is earmarked to become a Pigeon Point pay-to-use. And that all of those huts that were built, even if they are given to Shark and Bake vendors, those Shark and Bake vendors will be muscled out or bought out so that those same Shark and Bake huts that's supposed to be a national dish is going to be Subway, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Chuck E. Cheese. And some of them will have the audacity to offer Shark and Bake on their menu. But stick a pin there. I don't want you to get too distracted. The port that is going to be built in La Brea, they call that a shipping turnaround port because the Progressive Empowerment Party explained to the country how shipping turnaround put Singapore and Dubai on the world map. How shipping turnaround made Singapore and Dubai first world nations. So they come to fool you and rebranded the same port in La Brea that the Chinese are building to facilitate taking all the pitch. They want to suck the pitch out of the ground. They want to bring massive containers. What we were supposed to do was monetize the pitch lake. The Chinese is going to do it for us. And for some pennies that they've been given, these fools that represent the PNM and the UNC, they're going to take tons of profit. The Phoenix Industrial Park, 10 Chinese companies alone. 10 Chinese companies alone. So what happened to Germany and France and Spain and Greece and Holland and America and Canada? What happened to Brazil? Brazil is a tiger. What happened to India? Trinidad is being colonized because the PNM and the UNC have sold out the people of this country to the government of China. They've made their deals. They've taken their pound of flesh off your children's back. Off your children's back. That is what has taken place in this country. And while the government is getting away with murder, the opposition sits in mute and the media have nothing to say. I want you to hear this that was written by Steve Smith for Stand Up TNT. Listen to this. It is important. This is important. You need to see. You need to understand. Like yesterday when I was able to show that the media was used to lie for Bayshore. Bayshore said the gates down. So that you would say, okay, move on. So they could close their gates. And the Express had no problem printing that as a story. Wherever the political loyalty of every thinking citizen of this country may lie, know that the present PNM government under the leadership of Dr. Keith Rowley has since Wednesday of this week been doing in the parliament disguised as official government business is perhaps the greatest, most heinous and brazen act of state injustice that has ever been perpetrated against our people by any sitting government in our country's history. Blinded by greed and arrogance, he has desecrated and utterly trampled upon the already tattered principle of the rule of law, and in so doing has at one fell swoop plunged our beloved nation into a dark and unholy place. Under the guidance of his twisted leadership and without any regard for truth and justice, he has deliberately and openly, through his manipulative abuse of our parliamentary process, has contemptuously placed a heavy yoke of affliction on the necks of thousands of our citizens, men, women, children, and families. And the opposition is mute. This most abominable and treacherous act includes injustice tabled in the halls of our parliamentary chambers is an ungodly invitation to enemy. His heinous act of treachery has been ably assisted by a willing local media who, in doing as they have above, have willingly relinquished any vestige of moral authority they may have thought they possessed. And the opposition is sitting mute. The collective complicit silence of citizens and our failure to cry out in the high heavens against this heartless travesty and abuse of state power as the PNM attempts to create a way out for those who are alleged to have raped our treasury point to nothing but their party's involvement and collusion in what can only be described as an act of treason against the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And the opposition is silent. We have collectively chosen to turn a blind eye to the rapacious greed of a few and the profligate abuse of taxpayers' money in the scandalous and corrupt misappropriation of state funds, in the dishonest acquisition of a useless ferry, the destruction of business in Tobago, the redirection of our tax dollars into the pockets of party hacks through unsubstantiated mega projects, the criminal and heartless dereliction of duty in this government's deliberate placement of an entire community into a flood-prone basin, families, men, women, and children in flagrant disregard to the statutory rules to which they have sworn a sacred oath. And the opposition sits silent. His preoccupation with spending our tax dollars as though all belong to him to do it as he likes, his alleged illegal hiring of a foreigner 2 months before the official creation of a spin-off corporation, all of this based on deceitful lies, swearing that his cabinet was advised to close Petrotrin when not one of the 3 reports in his possession advised any such course of action. This evil will not pass unnoticed, and the opposition sits mute. This act of treacherous malfeasance is incompatible with even the most vestigial justice. A deliberate act of injustice such as this and dispense in the hand of the state is a contemptible offense against every desire for peace. What Dr. Rowley has achieved, if this miscellaneous vesting bill is passed in our parliament, renders void any claim anyone can make for our society as being civil. None can in its aftermath dare complain of the bloodshed, violence, and predation that will undoubtedly visit each of us at our doorsteps. What he has done is evil, and no man can willingly perpetrate evil and expect good to come of it. And the opposition sits mute. If you go on the parliamentary website and download and read 4 pages, that is this miscellaneous vesting bill, that all it does is list the assets of Petrotrin and breaks it up and divides it legally. Hundreds of billions of dollars being shared up like jub behind the class in school. There is a madness taking place in this country, and we the people have to stand up. We have to stand up and say, this is madness. You cannot use the parliament. You cannot use the parliament to you cannot use the parliament to stamp decency on an indecent act. What is going on in the country right now is the parliament is being used to make lawful illegal acts. The people of this country have been sold into future penury and slavery at the hands of the PNM and the UNC. If you think that things hard now, if you think that the inability to own a home now, if you think the inability to start a business, get an end, find some finance, get a loan, if you think that those things are hard now, wait until the only choices you have is to work for the 1% control of everything that used to belong to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are running out of time. Today at noon, the Progressive Empowerment Party opens its second national office, 10th Street, Barataria. Easy to find, it's on my wall. If you have an out of Trinidad and Tobago, if you're selling your stuff and stockpiling your foreign exchange and you know where you're going, this video, not for you. My wall, not for you. Be on your way. But if you are one of the million-plus people who are going to be stuck here when the proverbial shit hits the fan, you have a responsibility to your future self and your children and grandchildren to be aware as to what is taking place in your name by a small handful of people using your constitutionally endowed power, and that you have the authority to undo and redo this before they legislate your rights away. I watch Trinidad not know how to respond to plenty actions being taken by this government. We are galloping to a dictatorship, and the UNC sits silent. The UNC sits mute. Every time Kamala speaks, it is what we've been discussing 4 weeks prior. The opposition is not doing its job and should be fired alongside the government that is engaging in open criminality. We have plenty more to discuss. And today at noon, we're not at 19 Stanmore Avenue. Today at noon, we're at 10th Street, Barataria. Look for the PEP banners, look for the PEP flags as we open, soft launch our second office in Trinidad and Tobago on the 18th of January in celebration of our second anniversary. We will be opening our third office in San Fernando. Get on board. Help build the rescue. The responsibility is not mine or ours alone. It is yours as well. If we fail in this endeavor, collectively, we will bear the costs. This nation is going to either be an example of the good that can come when good and decent people stand up against injustice, or a lesson to every other nation in the world how abdication of the responsibility of the citizens could lead to the open destruction of a country. Trinidad and Tobago, to all of you watching this, share this video or share the information from this video. If you're still drunk and whining, you're whining on a sinking ship. If you're still drunk and whining tonight, you're whining on a sinking ship. And I hope for your sake and your children. You see, the people of Greenvale who end up on top those roofs trying to survive, the children, they don't want the children to drown as the water rising and the government disappeared. That feeling is joke. That feeling, if you could experience looking around you as far as the eye could see, deluge, as the flood basin in which your housing project was built by heinous and heartless PNM and UNC governments, and you and your family put at serious risk, were it not for the kindness of strangers, plenty people would have lost their lives. Share this video, share the information in this video, raise the level of the conversation. If there was no Progressive Empowerment Party, Petrotrin, Superfast Galatia, Curep Interchange, Manzanilla Highway to Nowhere, Maxi Coffee Medical Bills, Victoria Keys, rich people living in apartments paid for by poor people, Siam nightclub in Apsara, rich people dancing in a nightclub paid for by poor people, health contributions. If you do not stand up now, as the last chance to stand up exists, if you do not, we, all of us, we will have only ourselves to blame if the country fails. Today at noon, we are at 10th Street in Barataria. I hope to see you there. Stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.